Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of Str8 Legendary. I'm Stefan, and this is the show where I talk about my creative projects and I help you with your creative projects. Today, as always, we have an amazing show. I said in the last episode that I was gonna stop using amazing so much. Let's see, there's awesome, there's terrific, there's incredible. We're gonna go over incredible today. Today we have an incredible show. Today we're gonna talk about journaling. Okay, so I have to admit, I understand the real great benefits of journaling, but I'm a bad journaler. And I suggested to people, I say, you should journal. That's a great way to get your ideas down, to practice your writing, to help you to kind of formulate different things in your head, and then it's just very cathartic. This was one of my favorite words. I love saying the word cathartic, but it's also a great word. It just, it's any number of people will tell you the benefits of journaling. But today, I have a guest who is an expert journaler, if I do say so myself. She might not say that, but I'm gonna say it. She's an expert journaler, and she's gonna talk all about some of the amazing benefits of journaling, how it can help you as a writer, how it can just help you as a person, how it can help you as a human being, which we're all trying to be better human beings. And hopefully this inspires you not only to journal, but to write, to be creative, and to take your own creative endeavors and the things that you're trying to do to the next level. And then after that, I'm gonna tell you some of the projects that I've been working on. So we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with more Str8 Legendary. Hello everyone, welcome back to Str8 Legendary. I am here with my friend Deanna. Say hi, Deanna.
Hi.
So Deanna is someone that I've known for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And we've had the pleasure of working together, and doing some cool projects together. And we're working on a cool project right now that we can't really tell anybody about just yet. But I'm sure that so I'm sure I'll find plenty of opportunities to talk about it as it goes along. But today we are not talking about that project. We're talking about journaling, right? Yeah. So we're gonna talk about. But before we get to that, how about you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Like, who are you?
All right. Well, I'm Deanna, and I'm not nearly as high-strung as Holy cow!
We gotta keep the energy going, right?
That's not me. I'm an introvert. I grew up in Illinois. I moved here when I was 16. My dad.
Here is where, just in case people don't know. Ohio, yeah. We're in Ohio. This show films on location in Ohio.
Very important. I love to write. My dad was a writer. So
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. What did your dad write?
So he was in the newspaper business for
a journalist.
Yeah. And he has self-published a couple books, and
super
I take
cool.
after him.
Super cool. When did you discover your love for writing?
In high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had an English teacher who just encouraged my writing, and when you think you're good at something, you just keep doing it, right? Until you are good at it. So I haven't made it quite that big yet.
Hey,
we're working on it.
You have put pen to paper.
I have.
Which is a lot more than a lot of people can say, right? A lot of people have ideas, but very few of us actually take it and run with it, which is what this show is about, is encouraging more people. If you have ideas, put it down on paper. Come on, go for it. It doesn't matter how good or bad you think it is. Just write it, all right? That's where you gotta start somewhere. Anyway, I digress. So you've been writing for years and all kinds of different things. But today I really wanted to focus on talking about journaling, the benefits of journaling. As I admitted, earlier in the show, I've not been a great journaler, despite knowing how much of a benefit it is. And so I guess maybe to start with, like, when did you begin journaling, and like tell us a little bit about your journaling journey. Whoa, I think that's the title of the show. Journaling journey. I just sound like I'm drooling.
Okay, so when did I start journaling? That's a really good question. I don't know how long I've been doing it, but for a really long time. I have notebooks. That's something. I gotta say, I'm a pen and paper person, which a lot, you can do it online. A lot of people do it online. There's a ton of programs and whatnot, but pen and paper.
Pen and paper. So you have books and books of journaling.
I've got stacks and stacks and stacks of journals hidden all over my house. My friend, if I die unexpectedly, she is charged with burning all of my journals. That's her role.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was gonna ask, okay, like, so what do you journal? No. I was gonna say, what do you journal about? Is she tasked with burning it because it's like, this is stuff that you really don't want other people to read?
A lot of it is very private. Yeah. So I'll start out with just journaling my prayers.
Okay.
Every morning, most mornings, I'll do my Bible study, and I'll just journal what I'm learning, and I'll journal my prayers, and then that always leads to, how your mind wanders.
Yeah, absolutely, my mind wanders all. I spider web all over the place.
Yeah. So I'm constantly writing something in the journal. So it's a great way to process what's going on in my life. I've had so many different seasons and lots of different things happen to me throughout my life. And
so what would you say that like the benefit of, when you go through, challenges or even triumphs or different things in your life that, kind of weigh on you at times, what are some of the, how does journaling help that?
So for me, I'm very introverted.
Okay.
So I wouldn't pick up the phone and, talk to my buddy about whatever's going on. I get all my thoughts out on paper first. And then, when my husband and I have a fight, it all goes in the journal. And then I'm done. That's how I've processed it, So if there's something that I still need to chat about, I'll go to him and chat about it. But, it's just how I process.
Is that something, because I can even see that, this is something that I've done in the past where, if I had we've all seen those situations where someone sends or gets an email, right? An angry email or something where someone, and maybe there'll be, a response, well, why didn't you just say this to me? Well, it's I needed a chance to organize my thoughts. I needed a chance to really kind of look at what I was thinking. Sometimes it could be a way to, maybe not jump to an action or a reaction or a conclusion that could have, further consequences, So, we'll get to how this can be beneficial to your writing, but but writing in general is, like I said, it's very cathartic, when we're dealing with things that are weighing on our mind, or we're dealing with things that are, that we just can't stop thinking about. Sometimes a great way to help that is to just start writing it down, right? Doesn't have to be for anyone else. No. Never has to be shared with anyone. There's no rule that says, even though we talk a lot on this show about writing and creating for audiences, sometimes that audience is one person, you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's really okay. Deanna, you are a writer. You come from a family that has had writers in it before. Do you have to be a great writer to journal?
Oh, goodness, no.
Oh, okay. All right, you've heard it here.
No.
So if you're someone who thinks, well, I would journal, but I'm not a great writer. My grammar isn't the greatest. I'm not the greatest speller.
It matters.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your thoughts, getting them down on paper, helping you to process, what's going on in your mind. Even people who write things for public audiences, people who write books, people who write movies, people who write things that a lot of people are going to see, sometimes, or a lot of times, their big public works are things that they have been thinking about in their mind, that they've been journaling about, that they've been trying to process. I don't know, I'm going to give this example, but I don't know if it's directly tied to, to the creator, but as you know, and as many of you know, and as you can probably tell by this wall behind us, I love superhero stuff.
Yeah.
I love superhero stuff. And in the last couple of years, Marvel, of course, has been releasing a ton of movies, and they have all these movies. But there's a series of movies called The Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, many of you may be familiar with it. You know, Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon and Gamora, and you know all these characters. And I love those two movies. And I hear they're making another one. But the director of that movie, James Gunn, he talked about how, or how, you know, it is expressed in the movie that Guardians of the Galaxy deals a lot with a relationship between father and child. And you watch the movies, and when I first watched it, I was just like, oh man, these are just fun, hilarious movies and everything. But then in the, you know, of course, the main character, Star-Lord, he's an orphan. So, of course, that deals with parental kind of situations. But then in the second movie, the character of Star-Lord, the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, he meets his father. And not only that, but if you guys know the movie, there's a character named Groot who's like a tree, but he's like a half a tree. He becomes like a miniature tree in the second one. And at first it was kind of like, oh, this is cool, like young Groot. And he's like really bratty, and he's like, you know, kind of, he misbehaves. But then as you watch the movie, you see the other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of becoming a father figure to, you know, to this little Groot. And it just kind of reinforces his theme, and you begin to wonder, it's like, what is James Gunn trying to say about fatherhood and about the benefits of it, the challenges of it, you know, how it can be strained, how it can be great, how people who aren't even necessarily your biological father can still be a father figure to you, you know? And I would imagine that as he's writing this, he could probably, he's thinking about this a lot. Maybe he's journaling about it. James Gunn, if you see this,
Are you journaling?
If you see this, or like, you know, like, do you journal?
Let us
James
know.
Gunn, do you journal? Like, you know, but just as you were saying, you know, just kind of like the idea of, man, when there's challenges in your life, or when it's just things that you think about a lot, journaling can be really, really helpful.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, so let's take it out of the real life heavy stuff that we've been talking about, and into our world of like writers and like in like, you know, the fiction or even like the semi-fiction world. How can journaling be a benefit to someone who is trying to create a story to tell other people?
Well, for me, I feel like it helps organize my thoughts. I always do, like, even when I'm writing, like I'm writing a novel right now, it's all in paper, like it's all handwritten. I don't do it on the computer. I know, I can't. Who am I don't know, there's something about my brain and a pen, you know, that I can comprehend it better, I guess, maybe. I don't know. And I can see the themes emerge. Gotcha. as I'm just spewing stuff. I mean, when it's here, it's just all jumbled. And then I start getting it out on paper, and then you can kind of start seeing themes and.
Yeah, I've actually, I absolutely, I think it does make sense. Well, we'll write it down so that it all makes even more sense. You know, and I've heard this, and you guys can tell me if this is something that you feel also. But like the physical act of writing sometimes helps you to connect with your thoughts and what you're writing. You know, just kind of like that. Helps you to remember. Yep, that kind of like, you know, the whole idea, and not to say that can't happen also with like physically, you know, typing, but you know, just as like a point of, you know, differentiation, when you're typing, you kind of do the same motion over and over, right? Your fingers are moving across the same keys over and over and over and over again, right? Whether you're typing a J or an S, your finger moves the same way. When you're writing, every word you write is a different physical motion. And so sometimes I feel like, you know, for some people, not for everyone, but for some people, sometimes physically writing something helps you work through your thoughts in a more thorough and more kind of maybe analytical way, or, you know, like you said, kind of organizing your thoughts a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. The spelling doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be legible to anyone but you.
A lot of times I just bullet things. I do.
Yeah, just boom, 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 right. Because I think, you know, and this goes to something that I talk about on the show a lot, just the idea when we try to write and we self-edit at the same time, it really, really hinders our ability to write. And sometimes, not sometimes, all the time. I'm gonna say this all the time. And if you know, don't at me, or you can at me if you wanna argue about this. But if you are not using outlines, if you're not drafting, if you're not making drafts, you have to do it. It helps your writing. And when I say drafting and making drafts or doing outlines, I'm not talking about the whole idea behind that is to just kind of like just let it all out.
Right.
Just get it on paper. Stop self-editing. Your first draft should not be edited. It should just be blah.
First draft is always crap.
It's always crap. Let it be crap. Embrace the crap. That sounds terrible. I'm not editing that out either. Embrace the crap. You know, you gotta do it. Because as I will always say, people have heard me say this on the show time and time again, if you have nothing to work with, you can't work with anything. Like you gotta, like just, if you cannot edit a blank page. You cannot edit a page as you're building it. Just put the stuff there. Put the clay on the table. Just let it blah. Just let it.
You never know what it'll become.
You never know what it could become, right? You know, because now you can play with it. Now you can mess with it. Now you can take this bullet point and move it here, or you can expand on this bullet point, or you can take this chunk of whatever, and now you can edit it. And it's like, oh, I have like half of this paragraph is misspelled. Now you can take the time to go to the dictionary, or go to the thesaurus, or go to wherever you have to do to find out how to spelling it. Secret, and I spiderweb a lot, but it's a secret. Even professional writers use dictionaries and thesauruses and check spelling, okay? Just because you have to do that doesn't mean you're not a good writer. You wouldn't ask a handyman to go fix something without his hammer and his screwdriver. Get your dictionary out.
Tools.
It's okay, you know, it's all right. You can't do that stuff while you're just trying to get the thoughts out.
Right.
If you're trying to get the thoughts out and you're stopping to go check, how do I spell this? What does this mean? Then you're not writing. You're disrupting your flow.
Process.
Just get it out there, worry about that later. So journaling.
Yeah.
Which is
back to that.
You know, back to that. It all relates. It all relates. You know. So but that's some really cool, interesting stuff. So is there anything else that when you think of journaling that is, you know, either been helpful to you, beneficial to you, or that you think can help some of our young writers, young readers? Or I say young, but what I mean is like people who are going for it. I don't want to like say that this is only for like, you know, young people. We're all young at heart. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like other people who are out there trying to do creative work or just trying to do different things in general.
So I don't know if it counts as journaling per se, but I try to pay attention to what's going on around me all of the time, and conversations, whether I'm involved in them or not. I eavesdrop a lot, like sitting at Panera, because it can make a great story, you know? You never know. You never know. Anyway, but I use Evernote when I'm out and about, and, you know, I'll just put things in there, you know. Some people carry paper, whatever. I don't do that. See, I am moved up in the technology world.
Using apps and everything.
I know. So I'll just, and sometimes I think it's important to remember that sometimes you'll have an idea sit for years and years before something comes up with it.
Yes. It's very, so that's super interesting because, it's like, if you have something and it's not fully formed yet or it doesn't have like all the details yet, you can still just put that on paper or put it in your Evernote or put it somewhere and let it sit there. It's interesting that I say a lot, so I gotta stop doing it. As you can see, I'm self-editing. I'm not following my own advice. I'm self-editing as I'm doing this right now. So
you're just giving an example.
Giving an example, you know. So this is Str8 Legendary. It's raw, you know. It's raw. This is real. But yeah, just the idea of paying attention to, you know, what's going on around you, like that can inspire you, and the idea that if you write down something now, there may be something else that you see years down the line that may say, oh my goodness, that can jump back to something that's in my journal that I wrote down, and I can build on that.
Right.
You'll hear about storytellers and filmmakers and musicians and all kinds of creative people, and even in like, you know, businesses and creating different things where it's been ideas that have come to them over long periods of time. And then finally, they got the right, they're not the right one, but they got that one idea that was a catalyst to help bring all the other ideas together. You know, so, I mean, don't discount your disconnected ideas. You know, I just came up with that. Those are often my best ones. Yeah, right. Connect the dots. So, oh my goodness, it was so good. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know what I was expecting from a discussion about journaling, seen as like I'm a bad journaler. But now, after talking to you, I feel more inspired to get back on my journal game, because I think that will also help my writing. And you know what? I take that back. I actually have been doing a little journaling.
Have you?
After every show that I do, I write notes about it.
That's good.
Isn't that journaling?
Yeah.
So,
it counts.
You know, so hopefully these shows have been getting a little bit better, or either that, or I just need to journal a lot better, you know, so that's very kind of you to say. Well, Deanna, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Str8 Legendary.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have any like blogs or social media at this point that people can follow, or is that going to come a little bit later as your book is going, or?
I don't blog very consistently anymore. I think blogging is kind of a dying art.
Yeah.
That's podcasts are the thing that's up and coming.
That might be another episode for this podcast.
Yeah.
That might be another episode of this podcast.
I think you're onto something. So I don't blog very consistently. I am on Medium.
Okay.
I mean, you could... I am embarrassly easy to find. Deanna Kohlhofer, that's where I am.
Well, we will be looking for your next blog whenever you do it, or your next podcast. So but anyway, so thank you so much for coming. I hope you will join us for another episode at some point.
I would love to. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be back with more Str8 Legendary. And we're back with more Str8 Legendary. Special thanks to my guest Deanna. Talked about journaling. I feel extra inspired to go out and journal right now. I think I actually have some books that I can use for journaling right there on my shelves. So hopefully I get back into it. I get back into journaling, because now if I don't, Deanna's gonna be calling me and be like, "Where's your journal, Stefan? Where's your journal?" So I'm gonna hopefully be able to do my friend Deanna proud. I really hope that some of the things that we talked about, that she was able to help you out, that we were able to help you to be more inspired, to journal, to write, to be creative, to take a plunge, to just look at what's around you and write that down. I mean, something that we didn't even talk about that I just thought of now is that do you have dreams? Journal your dreams, you know? I mean, some people think that dreams are really significant. Some people think that dreams really mean something. Whatever it is, write it down. That's a great way to start journaling. Try to remember what you had in your dream. You know, we all know how sometimes it's really hard to remember dreams, but hey, that's another place where you can journal. Or as Deanna said, you can just take what happened to you during that day, what you experienced during that day, and just write it down. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It doesn't have to be the next great novel. It could just be your thoughts on a pen, on a paper, with a pen and paper, on a piece of paper, or on your computer screen. Well, guys, I'm gonna run, but before I go, I just wanna remind you, follow us on YouTube, Str8 Legendary, follow us on Facebook, and if you wanna see more about the creative work that I'm doing, you can check out thecreativeextreme.com. Tons of short stories, tons of characters, all kinds of incredible stuff. We even debuted our music video a few weeks ago, so check that out. It's based on our graphic novel, which you can also pick up at www.thecreativeextreme.com. And you can also check out some more of my creative work also as a freelancer at stephanthomas.com. Don't worry, as always, it's going to be down the bottom of the screen just in case you don't know how to spell Stefan. I know a lot of people spell it a lot of different ways. Either way, check it out. You can see my children's book that I wrote. You can also see some of the creative services that I offer. That's our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us for Str8 Legendary. This is where imagination without limitation is the only expectation. The legend grows. Huzzah!